From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN Noon News.
Good afternoon. Welcome to your MTN Noon News for this Tuesday. Good to be with you. I'm Don Hudson. Our top story takes us to a proposal on the table involving guns and the Billings Public School in Yellowstone County. Now, last night, the school board took up a proposal to arm the district's safety coordinator on school grounds. Officials say the move would bring more safety to the classrooms, but not all parents agree, believing it could lead to tragedy. MTN's David J. was on hand as several members of the public made their voices heard.
The school board looked at a policy that would allow appointing a school employee to be certified as a school marshal.
The marshal program really is taking that language and giving it more substance. So number one is not like I select or personally, but the board selects someone that has gone through the process, who has been vetted.
The school marshal would be able to possess, carry, or store a firearm and would need to meet some qualifications, including a permit to carry a concealed weapon, be certified by Montana Public Safety Officer standards, and a background check.
Not necessarily as an officer, but is going to be in the location where we have a situation that person can have a gun, which is a deterrent, who can then defend itself, and not against kids, which was mentioned. But we're talking about a world where people attack other people.
The school district has a proposal to authorize a school marshal who would be able to carry a gun and be there for safety reasons, but many at the meeting spoke out against that idea.
I think it's important that we don't start going down the path of just more armed adults. That has not proven to be effective.
I feel like the district is doing something that isn't evidence-based, and it's not based on peer-reviewed research.
No one spoke in favor during public comment of authorizing a marshal to carry a gun.
If we needed more armed staff, which I believe we do not, we should hire more SROs who have undergone extensive training to possess a firearm in a school setting.
I wonder where we draw the line if we say this person would be allowed to carry a gun. Would next year another kind of a person would be able to carry a gun?
But the district does see the benefits.
This is not opening the floodgates for teachers, coaches, and random employees, myself included, to have a gun. That's not what we want.
In Billings, David J., MTN News.
Oh, it has been a stormy time for Montana and Wyoming. Take out the look at this video from the Billings area from yesterday with all the thunderstorms and all that frequent lightning over the rim rocks. Very active weather, some beautiful but dangerous weather as well. Then we head a little bit further to the north and west, and ping pong ball sized hail caused this extreme windshield damage. Neil sent this picture in. That is definitely not what you want to see. Now, we have some showers. We have some thunderstorms already developing over parts of Montana yet again. They're going to be more frequent in eastern Montana with a better chance for some strong to severe thunderstorms. Details about that coming up in a few minutes.
Now time for today's leading look as we follow some of the other stories making headlines in the state. A fire in the Lolo National Forest, which drew a lot of attention over the weekend, has been determined to be human caused. However, forest officials say what led up to that fire starting still under investigation. So far, the flames, which are burning near Missoula, are scorching around 100 acres with 160 firefighters still working to try to contain that blaze. There are around 50 active fires in our state right now, with nearly 15 of those beginning just since Sunday. In southwest Montana, 3 people are dead after a plane crash south of West Yellowstone. According to the press release, the plane departed the West Yellowstone area just before midnight on Thursday. On Friday afternoon, West Yellowstone dispatch received a call regarding a possible plane crash. Using the last known location from one of the occupants' smartwatch, search planes were deployed and the aircraft was located in some dense timber. All the people on board were killed. They've been identified as 60-year-old Rodney Conover and 23-year-old Madison Conover. They're both from Tennessee, by the way, and 55-year-old Kurt Roby from Utah. A rafter is safe today after Livingston rescue crews say they were able to pull the rafter out of the Yellowstone River. Livingston Fire and Rescue crews, alongside several other Park County agencies, say this all happened yesterday afternoon. In a release, crews say the person had fallen from the raft and they had actually been submerged briefly under the water. They add that the swiftwater rescue, highly specialized discipline that Livingston Fire and Rescue trains extensively for each year, certainly paid off yesterday. And they add, always wear your life vest if you're going out on the river. In continuing health coverage, about 170 people may have been exposed to the measles here in Billings. It comes after a school-aged child was diagnosed on Friday after attending a vacation Bible camp at Cornerstone Community Church. It's a story we first brought you after a pastor informed his congregation of ongoing efforts by the church to stop that outbreak. MTN's Hannah Pettiferi has the latest on what we know.
Our people at Cornerstone love this community, and they do not want to do anything that would put it in danger.
On Sunday, Pastor Jeff Romans gave a solemn message.
We're sorry for anyone that it affects. Because it also not only is hard on these families, it's hard on this community.
Which stems from Yellowstone County's first measles case.
One of those kids that participated, it turns out, did have the measles virus. So we had about 110 kids show up throughout the week, and we had about 60 volunteers helping us run the Vacation Bible School.
Once the church found out there was a case of the measles, leaders sprang into action.
The moment that we found out that there might be a case of measles, we took immediate and proactive actions to try to stop or slow that spread.
While most of the congregation has been vaccinated, leaders made sure everyone was taking precautions.
We worked hand in hand together to try to make sure that we would eliminate or slow the spread of this thing as much as possible.
And Megan Littlefield, the chief medical officer at Riverstone, says that means quarantine for those without the vaccine.
You've been exposed to measles and you are not vaccinated, or you're not immune, otherwise immune to measles, then we ask those people to quarantine for a full 21 days after their last contact.
Riverstone Health says someone can be contagious and not even know it.
We then start to look at who that person has been in contact with during the 4 days before the rash, which is when they are contagious, and we start doing outreach to whoever we can identify that may have been exposed during that time.
Pastor Romans thanks Riverstone Health for its assistance.
They provided a vaccination clinic Saturday morning.
And he adds, while it will take some time, the church will get through this ordeal. In Billings, Hannah Pettiferi, MTN News.
Montana regulators have released more details on their plans to implement work requirements and charge premiums for people on Medicaid expansion. It includes tweaks to get the state's proposal in line with what Congress just approved in the federal One Big Bill. MTN's Jonathan Amberian breaks down the proposed changes.
Earlier this month, leaders with the Montana Department of Public Health and Human Services told lawmakers they were ready to seek federal approval to start implementing community engagement requirements and cost sharing for people on Montana's Medicaid expansion program. Now they've released details about what they're going to ask the federal government to approve. On Friday, the Gianforte administration officially published their request for a 5-year waiver to implement part of the state's Medicaid expansion law that have never gone into effect. In the document, state leaders said the changes would, quote, ensure that public resources are targeted to those most in need and encourage greater independence and self-sufficiency. If the waiver application is approved, people wanting to get onto Medicaid expansion will have to be working, in school, in workforce training, or another type of approved community engagement for at least 80 hours a month, 1 month before they apply. The waiver would also require Medicaid expansion recipients to pay monthly premiums. The premiums would start at 2% of their household income and increase the longer a person remains on the program. People who don't pay would have charges assessed against their income tax. And if they're above the federal poverty line, they could be disenrolled if they don't pay within 90 days. Federal and state laws each lay out categories of people who should be exempt from these requirements, and the waiver waiver seeks to get those into alignment. Under the federal law, groups including pregnant women, American Indians, people with children 13 or younger, and those with specific disabilities will be exempt from community engagement requirements and from premium increases. The state also wants to offer short-term exemptions to groups like people experiencing homelessness and domestic violence victims. DPHHS says if the waiver is approved, they'll implement the new requirements as soon as practicable. DPHHS will be holding public meetings on the waiver proposal next week, including one here in Helena on Thursday, July 31st, and a virtual meeting on Friday, August 1st. If you'd like to participate, you can find out how by going to our website. In Helena, Jonathan Amberian, MTN News.